There's something rotting inside you. You can't see it in the mirror, it doesn't show up in blood tests, but it's there, silently eating away your attention, your drive, and the clarity you once had. Every time you scroll through a feed without blinking, every time you binge an entire season without remembering half of what you watched, every time you click from one short video to the next, numbing your brain with flashing lights and empty noise, the rot gets deeper. And no, this isn't one of those rants about how social media is bad. It's much worse than that. Because the rot isn't in your phone, it's in your mind. They call it brain rot, a slow decay of your ability to focus, to think deeply, to feel curious. It's what makes it hard to read a full paragraph. It's why you can't sit with a thought for more than 5 seconds without reaching for something, anything to distract you. And here's the terrifying part. Most people will never realize it's happening. They'll keep living like that, half awake, half inspired, not because they're lazy, but because the systems around them have trained their brains to expect constant stimulation and zero friction. You weren't born with a rotten mind. You were trained into one. But if you were trained into it, you can train your way out. The cure isn't a detox. It's not deleting all your apps or running off into the woods. There's a deeper fix, a way to reclaim your brain and turn it into the most powerful asset you have. Let me show you how. But first, you need to understand the enemy you're fighting. We were never meant to live like this. Imagine trying to read a book, a really good one, but someone taps you on the shoulder every 10 seconds. That's what modern life feels like. You wake up, and before your brain even has a chance to be alone with itself, you're flooded with noise, notifications, alerts, headlines, DMs. And most people think this is just the way the world works now. But that belief, that this is normal, is the most dangerous lie of all. Because what we call normal is actually a deeply conditioned, broken way of existing. We've been trained to consume, not think, to react, not reflect, to scroll, not sit with discomfort. Think about it. When was the last time you sat in silence and let your thoughts run without interruption? When was the last time you followed a curiosity deep enough to get lost in it? Or had an idea that made you excited enough to forget to check your phone? The big problem isn't distraction. It's what distraction is replacing. Deep focus, creative boredom, independent thought, the ability to tolerate slowness, ambiguity, and complexity. We've become allergic to those things. And here's the real kicker. Every time you give in to that itch to check your phone, every microsecond of passive consumption, you're not just losing time, you're training your brain to avoid effort. This creates a loop. Your brain starts craving low-effort inputs because they feel good. But those inputs don't build anything. They don't sharpen your thinking. They don't challenge you, and so you rot. Slowly, invisibly, you become someone who feels stuck but doesn't know why. Someone who wants more but lacks the energy to pursue it. Someone who's alive, but only in the most technical sense. And what's tragic is, you didn't choose this. You were conditioned into it. But there's good news. If you're feeling this, if you've noticed that your brain isn't what it used to be, you're already one step ahead of most, because you're aware. And that awareness is the beginning of something powerful. Let me tell you a story. A few years ago, I thought something was seriously wrong with me. I'd sit down to write or read, and within minutes, my mind would wander. I wasn't bored, I just couldn't stay present. Even during conversations, I'd nod and smile. But part of me was always elsewhere, thinking about emails, wondering what I was missing online, itching to check my phone. It felt like I had become mentally hollow, like there was no depth left in me, and I hated it. I used to be sharp, curious, the kind of person who'd get obsessed with an idea and chase it for days. I remember when I first discovered the works of Carl Jung. I devoured his ideas like they were oxygen. I'd lose hours reading, highlighting, thinking. It felt like my mind was on fire, and I loved that version of me. But somehow, along the way, that version got replaced by a scattered, tired, overstimulated version I didn't recognize. And I kept telling myself, it's just burnout. I need a vacation. But deep down, I knew it wasn't just exhaustion. It was decay. And worse, it was happening so slowly I almost didn't notice. Until one day it hit me. I was at a cafe trying to read when I caught myself rereading the same paragraph 4 times. I looked up, and around me everyone was doing the same thing. Phones out, eyes glazed, conversations half alive, no presence, no attention, no curiosity. And in that moment, I realized it wasn't just me. It's all of us. We've normalized brain rot. We've accepted overstimulation as a lifestyle. We've surrendered our attention, and with it, our ability to think, feel, and create meaning. But here's the part that matters. Once I saw it for what it was, I started asking better questions. What if this isn't just how things are? What if this state of mental numbness is optional? What if I could undo the damage and rebuild my brain from the ground up? That was the beginning of a very different path. And I'm telling you this not to sound wise or enlightened, but because if you felt this too, if your brain feels cluttered, tired, unable to focus, if you miss the old you, the curious you, the alive you, you're not broken. You're not lazy. You're not behind. You're just wired wrong by design. And once you see it, you can start rewiring. Let me show you what happens when you do. Imagine waking up and feeling like your thoughts are clear. Not scattered, not rushed, clear. You sit down to work, and instead of that familiar fog or the urge to check your phone, something strange happens. You actually focus. Not because you're forcing it, but because your mind wants to stay with the task. You're curious again. The work feels engaging. Ideas begin to unfold with depth. Not shallow fragments, but full thoughts, the kind you forgot you were capable of. That's what happens when you reverse brain rot. You're no longer a slave to dopamine hits. You no longer scroll without meaning. You begin to own your attention, and with that, your energy, your emotions, and your time. You start to feel again, not in a dramatic, sentimental way, but in the sense that you're fully present in your life. Books become immersive. Conversations become deeper. You stop chasing stimulation and begin building something far more powerful. Conscious momentum. You're no longer jumping from task to task. You're finishing what you start. You're thinking longer, listening better, choosing with clarity, and perhaps the most overlooked benefit of all, you begin to trust yourself again. You're not negotiating with procrastination every hour. You're not overwhelmed by endless tabs or half-finished ideas. You've built mental integrity, and people feel it. It reflects in your work. Your creativity sharpens. Your output improves. Whether you're building a business, writing, creating, or simply trying to be more present in your relationships, the improvement becomes undeniable. People notice. They ask what changed, and all you can say is something that sounds almost too simple. I started taking my mind back. But behind that sentence is a radical transformation, because when you reclaim your mind, you reclaim your life. So if you've forgotten what it's like to have deep focus, if you've gotten used to the noise, the numbness, the mental clutter, let's be real. There's no flashy cure, no shortcut, no overpriced supplement promising to reset your brain in 7 days. The truth? You don't need another trick. You need a reset. Not a motivational quote, not more information, a fundamental shift, followed by deliberate action. Because brain rot isn't just about bad habits. It's about living in a system that rewards distraction and punishes focus. So here's how you fight back. 1. Do a dopamine reset, your way. Not a total detox, that's unsustainable. Start small. Just remove one high dopamine habit. Maybe it's YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, Twitter doom scrolling. Pick one. Block it. 7 days. No excuses. It'll feel uncomfortable, even painful. That's your nervous system recalibrating. You're not depriving yourself, you're reclaiming control. 2. Build a daily focus ritual. Choose something simple, quiet, grounded, reading a real book, journaling by hand, going for a walk, no music, no podcasts. Do it for 30 minutes at the same time every day. That's it. This isn't about productivity. It's about teaching your brain how to sit with itself again. 3. Protect your input like it's your oxygen. Every bit of content you consume leaves a residue, so be ruthless. Unfollow noisy creators, unsubscribe from useless email lists, clean your digital workspace, keep only the tabs you're actually using. Your mind is not a landfill, it's a garden, and it needs space to grow. 4. Prioritize the fundamentals. Yeah, the ones you've been ignoring. Get 7 to 8 hours of real sleep. Move your body daily. Eat food that didn't come out of a plastic wrapper. These sound basic because they are, but your brain is biological, not mechanical. You can't outthink a system that's underrested and undernourished. Cole, treat your body like it's part of the solution, because it is. 5. Write to reboot your mind. Every morning before checking your phone, write 1 page. No format, no rules, just thoughts. Messy, boring, honest. This isn't about clarity, it's about unclogging. Think of it like flushing the pipes before the day begins. After a week, your thinking feels lighter, more deliberate, less foggy. The bigger picture, you don't need to do all of this perfectly. But you need to start. You need to choose one small thing today that brings you back to yourself. Because the real danger of brain rot isn't just distraction, it's the slow erosion of who you are. The ability to sit still, to think deeply, to create instead of consume. That's the power you're reclaiming. And once you taste it, even for a moment, you'll never want to go back. That's not just healing, that's freedom.